Hello and welcome. This is the Zen community of Oregon, making the teachings of the Buddha Dharma accessible to support your practice. New episodes air every week.
Good evening. I always start by taking refuge. And refuge means, where do we go for support, for comfort, for protection? And in this case, it's the transcendental virtues, the transcendental, that is beyond the small self. And the way that we phrase that in the Buddhist tradition is, I take refuge in the Buddha, the transcendental mind, the one mind. I take refuge in the Dharma, all the teachings that transcend the small self and yet include the practical aspects of life. And I take refuge in the Sangha, those people who are walking the path along the way together towards harmony, towards love, towards cooperation. So take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Thank you all for being here this evening. Anything on anybody's minds before I should include?
The need to be right.
The need to be right. Okay. So there are lots of ways of spiritual practice. There are many different routes. You know, there's a whole mandala, and you can approach the mandala from many different sides, many different aspects. One of the ways of the mandala, in the mandala of practice, is koan practice. And I'm going to mention koan practice because we just finished a week-long retreat on koans up at Great Vow. And koans is a particularly associated with the Zen Buddhist tradition. It was, I think, began as a formal way of practice in the 600 or 700 CE in China. And it was a way of working with certain kinds of minds, certain kinds of people, to help them have a direct experience of the non-dual, the non-separation of things. Now, the koans there are many different kinds of koans. They're not one thing. There are many different kinds of koans. It's like we say, how many kinds of candy are there? There's thousands of kinds of candy. But so with koans, there's 5 or 6 basic kinds of koans. The essential koan, though, has to do with self and other. Self and other. The essential koan is an inquiry into the sensation of separation from ourselves, from our lives, from others. So they might say, for example, a koan would be, before your parents were born, where was this consciousness? You know, you're aware right now. Well, were you always aware? When you were a toddler, were you aware? Before you entered your mother's womb, were you aware? And when you die, what will happen to that consciousness? So one koan is, let's look directly at the mind of awareness. Let's look directly into it and see its true nature. So some people, this kind of existential question is the bread and butter. You know, if you've been in a lot of pain and a lot of suffering, the question of why is part of being a human being. Other people have a lot of equanimity and just clarity about their life and just say, I'll just deal with what's in front of me, and that's the nature of things, and I'm not really concerned about existential angst. I'm not really concerned about those. So this particular kind of koan, I feel, is especially helpful for people who have that burning question of, why is there suffering in the world? Who am I? Where did I come from? You know, where will I go when I die? So the fundamental koan is, or actually let me start with in the Vajrayana Buddhist tradition, there is a teaching called the elephant path. And the elephant path it's listed as a tanka, as a painting, and the painting is an elephant starts off at the bottom of the path, and the elephant is kind of wild and it's dark, and there's often a monk chasing the elephant, trying to kind of capture it. And the elephant is, of course, an analogy for our own minds. But our minds, in the beginning of practice, are often quite wild. They're running around. They're out of control. They're just filled with craziness or delusion or anger and self-pity. And so, in the early part of the elephant path, we're trying to tame the elephant, trying to tame the wild mind. And I think Chosen has a book called "Taming the Wild Elephant." Is that Taming the Wild Elephant? Which is about taming our mind. Now, the mind is not just tamed all at once. The mind is tamed, is calmed, is clarified little by little. We begin to be more present. We begin to not be so reactive. We begin to not believe all those negative judgments. We begin to calm down and actually pay attention to what's going on. Little by little, our mind and our life become in harmony. That we have a stillness, a clarity. The clarity and the stillness that is this part of practice is essential for all other aspects of practice. That clarity and calmness we use in this tradition often is done with meditation, feeling the breath meticulously, feeling the breath moment to moment, forgetting the discursive mind, forgetting the world out there and feeling the breath. It can be done with chanting. There are traditions that just chant, that you feel the breath moving through the body and you feel the body harmonizing. And in that harmonizing of the breath and body, your mind becomes stiller and calmer and more present. So any deep tradition requires this kind of calmness and clarity of mind. By clarity of mind the mind is not just caught by and reacting to, you hear this bit of news, hear that bit of news, hear this diagnosis, hear that diagnosis. It's not somebody says something unskillful to me and somebody else says something really praising me. My mind is just sort of bouncing back and forth. I like it, I don't like it, what am I going to do? The news is terrible, the news is great, oh, who won, who lost? That's the reactive mind. So the first part of practice is how do we find a center in ourselves, right here, with the breath, that has equanimity. Without some equanimity, some tranquility, some calmness, it's hard to really look deeply into things. So the elephant path is about the 9 stages of calming the mind, the 9 stages of bringing the mind into equanimity and clarity. And it's not easy, those of you who've been practicing for a while, because the mind we've had years, decades of habits. We've been trained to be reactive. I often think of news as propaganda. We've been listening to propaganda that we're a consuming machine. If I just consume the right thing, if I just consume a little more, if I just go here, if I just go there. We've been trained to think, oh, I'll get the right pill, I'll get the right combination of shoes and experience and adventures, and then. So this first part of meditation is let's let all that go and let's feel with respect, with appreciation, with harmony, the sacredness of this body and this breath moving right here. And that just, if you do that alone, your whole life will be transformed. That you're no longer acting out of the reactive. You will no longer be the reactive mind that's being thrown this way and thrown that way. That gets so confused it can't make the choices, that keeps making self-inflicting harm. So equanimity, calm abiding, samatha, great. So with that foundation, and that's a foundation we all work on, regardless of what our practice is, whether we're working on koans or not. That's the foundation we always have to keep coming back to. But with a calm mind, with a clear mind, with a mind that is not reactive, with a mind that is really present, with a mind that is able to investigate, it's like trying to get a microscope or a telescope in focus. That we've calmed down enough that we can actually adjust the lenses so we can begin to see more clearly. And we can see more deeply. And in that seeing more deeply, we can begin to see beyond, or have an experience of beyond the dual. What is the dual? Me and you. I like it, I don't like it. It's good, it's bad. It's up, it's down. It's right, it's wrong. You know? I'm of this, I'm of that. I'm not of this, I'm not of that. I get what I want, I don't get what I want. Those are all part of the fundamental split. That there's something that we're against. Something we're against. Something that we want, something that we don't want. High and low. You know, I want to have economic prosperity, and I'm really afraid of being impoverished. I want to be healthy, happy, and holy, but I'm afraid if I get a diagnosis that is scary. So the reactive mind is just constantly. So with koans, we begin to think, well, what is it that's at the core? What is it that is bigger than the reactive mind? What is it that is aware? So we are aware of, of up and down. Something is aware of up and something is aware of down. If we're aware of me and you, something in us is aware of the me and something is aware of you. What is that something? What is that pivotal place that includes both the right and the wrong, includes these? And so that's where the fundamental curiosity of koans starts. Before my parents were born, what happened to this consciousness? Where was this consciousness? As an example, there are a number of these fundamental breakthrough type koans. And interestingly enough, the really good ones all involve, they are not able to be penetrated with the rational mind, because the rational mind is naturally dual. You know, this is the way, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense, this is the way it should be, this isn't the way it should be. You know, every time thinking, if we say that, you know, here's a electronic gizmo, then that's a discrimination. Here's an electronic gizmo, that's not an electronic gizmo, that's not, that's not, that's not. So that has an inherent dualism anytime we get involved with language. So the fundamental koans go beyond language. Before my parents were born, where was this consciousness? Or, another one which I personally like, is what is it that's alive? If I'm hurting, what is it that's alive? If I'm feeling great, what is it that's alive? If I'm asleep, what is it that's alive? If I'm active and engaged, what is it that's alive? What is it? What is it? And so the koans begin to feed and nurture and to stoke that curiosity, that inquiry to see. Because these questions have a vivid answer, a vivid recognition, a vivid understanding. They are not intellectual answers that we can write a book about, you know, although people have written thousands of books, but rather they're a visceral understanding of, oh, now I see it clearly. Oh, that's the way it is. Oh, it was there all along, but I didn't recognize it. So with a koan, like the classic koan, all things have the Buddha nature. All things are whole and complete, lacking nothing. And a student went to a great teacher, Joshu, and said, is this true, that all things are whole and complete? Are even rats whole and complete? Are even dogs whole and complete? How about insects? How about cockroaches? How about snakes? How about dirty, grimy pedophiles? Are they whole and complete? And the kind of the classic answer is, of course, all things are whole and complete, lacking nothing, have an intrinsic nature. Well, Joshu said, no. No, they're not. No. Woo, moo. Now, so what is it that is beyond this or that? What is it? What is it that is aware of alive and dead? What is it that's aware of knowing and not knowing? What is it that was completely present with us when we were young, callow neophytes? And what is it that is present with us now? What is it that will be present with us when we're old and decrepit? What is it that is in us? So that question, that curiosity of turning the mind to look directly at the mind, turning awareness to look directly at awareness. So what is it? What is it? What is it? Now personally, when people have had a loss, someone who's died, when people have a bad diagnosis, when people have had a crushing defeat, I think, what is it that's right at the core? What is the essence of that person? Where did it go? What is the essence of my life? Where did it go? Where did it come from? And so we begin to get really curious, and we turn the mind onto the mind, and we look, and we look, and we look. What is it? What is it? What is it? What is it? What is it that's alive? Now, if we have the koan, what is it that's alive? It's, of course, we can wave our hands and fingers and say, oh, yeah, here I am, this is alive, that's fine. But if we get really curious and we say, okay, every body position will change, every cell in my body will change. The person I am now is not the person I was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and I guarantee it'll be different 2 or 3 years, 5 years from now. What is it that's in me? What is it that is the essence, that is the unchanging? What is it that that's alive right now and has been alive every moment of my life? What is it? What is it? Now, the rational mind cannot answer that question because the rational mind keeps wanting to put things in categories. Oh, I understand this, so it must not be that. Oh, I understand how this works. And so these kind of fundamental koans require deep curiosity without the thinking mind. Deeply curious. How is that possible? For example, you go to a swimming pool or you draw a bath and you wonder, what's the temperature of the water? And you immerse your hand in the water and you know from the experience of the hand, regardless of whether the mind says it's 42 degrees centigrade or 102 degrees Fahrenheit or whatever, you know because you have experienced it and tasted it directly. This experience is the temperature of the water. It is that intimate knowing, that intimate recognition that happens when the mind that is dual is no longer, we're no longer caught by it, but we look, we feel, we rest right in the very core. Now, in a way, that's an unfair analogy. So there's another way of doing this. If we are sitting and feeling our whole body, feeling the whole body as it breathes. Now, of course, if you're feeling, those of you who've been around have heard this many times, but I'll do it again. If you feel your hands right now, everybody can do that, just like that. Feel your hands. And notice that you feel your hands with your hands in your hands. You don't feel your hands in your head. Feel them there. You feel them in the hands. You're not feeling them in the head. You're feeling them in the hands. You feel the body in the body. You're not feeling the body up in your mind saying, okay, I've got a body and it's wears size 42 centimeter shoes and, it's 8.5 feet tall. We feel the body in the body. So if we are resting in meditation and we're feeling the body with the body in the body, the mind is not busy doing something else. We're feeling the body. What is it that's aware right there? What is it that's aware right there? This curiosity, because you have to have a mind that is curious about these kind of things. If you're not particularly curious, this is not the route to go. not particularly helpful. But if you are curious, and you begin to wonder, well, what is it that suffers? My knee hurts, knee here, ankle here, knee there. Why do I suffer? Well, what's the experience? My back hurts, back's back there, I feel the back feels the back. Why do I suffer? What is it that's aware? What is it that is afflicted? What is it? So that question of what is it? What is it? What is it? With that kind of curiosity, the mind can turn toward it and turn toward it and turn toward it and turn toward it and turn toward it. What is it? What is it? What is it that's alive? What is it? And after a while, we don't even need the sentence. We're just looking and feeling. We feel this. What is it? This life. What is this life? The sensation of being alive. What is it? What is it? Where do I experience it? What is it? And then with the curiosity and the entering into it, often we can have a recognition of something that is there beyond the cognitive mind, beyond the rational mind. We every year, Chosen did a retreat on that this last week. We've done them for many years, and some traditions use koans and different kinds of koans as their primary practice. We don't tend to do that because without having some intimation of the non-dual, it's really hard to do koans. But the best way to get an intimation of the non-dual, the best way to actually touch the non-dual, is to step aside from the rational mind for at least a split second. So the Rinzai school of Zen, the Linji school of Zen in China, emphasizes this kind of inquiry. And the Soto school, the calm abiding school, the South So school in China, emphasizes calm acceptance. Things are okay. I will sit there and I will become like a deep, still pool of water. And become so deep, so clear you can see right to the bottom. For some people, that really works. Other people get bored. For some people, the inquiry really works. Other people just find it so frustrating, it doesn't have any catch. So, in a way, we try to tailor the practice according to the people who are doing it. So, anybody have any comments? If you want to do koans, there's 1,700 koans, and the first one of our series are you have to touch the non-dual, and you have to recognize the non-dual because there's nothing but the non-dual. To recognize it. Just say it while Rokin is processing. You can tell me.
Well, I just wanted to ask a question on behalf of people who might be new. Can you practice koans on your own?
So this is a particular style of practice, and it really requires a teacher. It really requires, because we all default to our habitual way of thinking at the world, and we default to our constant way of analysis, and analysis won't do it. The ego can't see beyond itself. It's like the unconscious is by definition unconscious. The unconscious can't become conscious because by definition it's unconscious. The ego can't see beyond the ego because by definition it's the ego. So it's really important, if you're doing this kind of work, that there be someone to reflect and someone who's actually walked on the path a little bit more. So it's a relationship with the teacher. Here we tend to just use these fundamental koans. Very few people, mostly who've been to Sesshin over and over again, or lived at the monastery, have done other kinds of koan work. But because we did a week-long retreat just now, I thought I'd talk about it some this evening.
Thank you for listening to the Zen Community of Oregon podcast. and thank you for your practice. New episodes air every week. Please consider making a donation at zendust.org. Your support supports us.